have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. This is brought to you by redvoicemedia.com. Remember, we do the second hour at the top of the hour over premium style. 50 cents for the first week. $10 a month and $100 for the year. Save yourself $20. I am far from the only attraction there, and all I can say is the lineup is getting better and better, growing by the day, and I am just so happy to be a part of that growth. And I want to thank all the Bermas Brigade that has thrown their support behind me, gone to redvoicemedia.com/Jason or redvoicemedia.com/uncensored and signed up. Slowly but surely we're getting there, guys. 2-3 subscribers a day. It's not much, but when your YouTube channel is as shadow banned as mine is, when sometimes I can get more views, okay, on banned.video alone, between even videos that do all right on Rumble via my channel and the Red Voice Media channel, and make sure to go subscribe to them as well, because aside from just like regular Jason Bermas, you get shorter clips of myself in the show that you can share, and then also shorter cuts and clips of the other shows that you can share, and even just short little like Vigilant Fox style news clips over there. So make sure you're subscribed over at Rumble. Both ways. I don't call for that enough. I haven't grown my Rumble channel. I need to. And the band.video channel is great because there doesn't really seem to be any kind of elevation or suppression algorithms. So once again, I can get a video up over there that does 15, 20,000 views. And if I do a video on YouTube and it gets more, I won't even go up to 10,000. If it gets more than 7,000 views, it is top tier. It is a 1 in 50 to 100 video. I've been around the platform, again, since 2007, and my analytics are off the charts, overwhelming to engage an audience and should be bringing more people in. No, we've lost 30 to 50 subscribers, maybe even 100 subscribers over the last 1 month, 2 months. Why is that? Is that even possible? Same thing, I did my Social Blade on Twitter, and that'll bring us right into the Tuckins interview with the Muskernutz, which has gotten super mega nova viral all over social media, obviously Twitter included, but you can't turn on the news cycle and not hear about it, etc. If you don't know what Social Blade is usually a pretty good indicator on where you're going. Now, when I started using Social Blade and showed my YouTube channel that was growing and growing and growing before the demonetization, and when I say demonetization, I only mean really not even the full demonetization. Before they were demonetizing essentially every single video and making me review it, before they demonetized my whole channel. That was it. The growth would just stop. My growth was mega awesome. And now, I bought my blue check mark. Still waiting, Elon. And here's the thing, like, I hate whining about this stuff, but it's not a level playing field at all. Just like Parler goes out of business, right? They always tell you to build your own thing, and then big tech colludes against them together, acts like they're private corporations, they're Trojan horse civilian systems of a great narrative, of a military industrial complex agenda, and now they're bye-bye, goodbye. Sorry, you want to be a free speech platform? You want to be on the same? We'll take you off the App Store. See ya. And that's why, I know we have Lineage OS and Graphene OS. Where are the programmers out there for a true open source operating system for these devices that can wipe an Android or an iPhone, directly interject that on there, and be a true freedom phone? Because again, I understand the de-Googling and all that other stuff and putting a VPN, etc. Where are you guys? Where are you? Because that's really the only way that stuff could grow if, 10 to 20% of the population said no more to the main two. I mean, you get a phone outside of an Apple or an Android running device, you got a flip phone, right? Or you got the jitterbug for old people. And the jitterbug might run on Android. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with it. I know the grays are popping in the beard today. Not quite that old yet. Okay? But the truth of the matter is there is no level playing field. I'm still not able to stream to the Twitter, which is extremely unfortunate. And Musk is still paraded around kind of as this hero. We're going to play what I think is Elon totally putting out the bullshiz. Oh, I can't believe how many government agencies had access to all of Twitter. And he talks about it not being his, but the people's. Now, Tucker brings up the fact that he's a huge government contractor and he's sticking it to the government. But he doesn't ask about those huge contracts. Now, there's a second part tonight. The hard questions are not being asked at all. At all. Instead, this is really like a PR piece for the Muskernutz. And it's a big problem, Tuckins. You did the Trump interview. Now this interview, the most popular thing on TV, this guy, even though he's, I guess, being the most reasonable voice at that level on artificial intelligence, is still pushing forward with a very real transhumanist agenda. And I'm going to bring up some UN stuff. We're going to talk about the IMF CBDC being announced last week, something that's been in the works for some time. Remember, I was telling you over a decade ago, I know we got some newbies, right? The 9/11 video yesterday brought some newbies in, okay? I've been talking about the Special Drawing Rights Unit and the SDR for almost a decade and a half. As soon as they introduced it, it was probably in 2009, 2010, maybe even 2008. And when I saw that this bank was just going to be able to digitally produce money with no resources nor regulation behind it, I said, whoa. This is stepping us into a fully digital currency where there is no accountability. And I've got a clip from the Brookings Institute that we're going to play later, where they're openly bragging right now at this moment, how they are going to essentially let the World Bank and IMF do whatever they want, whenever they want, totally unaccountable, without any resources to back it up. You understand what that means? That means that the top part of the population, the social Darwinists, will be the have and own everythings. And you will be at a multitude, okay, the mercy of a multitude of different mechanisms to control you, including a digital currency based in a carbon and social credit score. And this is something that has been in the works decade upon decade upon decade on behalf of the altar of global government, global governance, a new world order, whatever you want to call it. And look, I get it. Some people think that new world order is a goofy term, and it's not real. It's as real as it gets. As real as it gets. That's why I made Invisible Empire a New World Order defined. So you don't have to listen to a guy like me or even Bryce Mitchell. I forgot to get that clip for today. Talk about a quote-unquote New World Order. No. You can watch Tony Blair talk about it and Gordon Brown talk about it and George Herbert Walker Bush talk about it. All of them. Every single damn one of them by name. Right? And you can see the mechanisms of control. You can see what these NGOs really are and these think tanks really are. And they're basically a consortium of unelected Muppets that parrot the agenda of what some people like to call the 1%, but they ain't 1%. They ain't 1 out of 100, bro. They ain't 1 out of 1,000. Start getting into the 1 in 10 or 100,000 of the population. Then you're talking about the real predator class. You get it? That always bothered me about the Occupy Wall Street. The 1%. Hey, everybody, just so you understand what that means, I went to a very small school, so I only graduated with about 54 kids in my class. That's not the case for most of us. All right? Most of us, 100, 200, 1,000, 2,000 in our class, okay? So that would be like saying, while you're sitting there, that, Timmy Johnson, whose dad owns the car dealership, and you don't like Timmy. He's got the preppy clothes, he gets whatever he wants, well-groomed, haircut, the whole nine, but his dad is a millionaire, which most of us aren't. And he actually employs people in the community. All right? That guy's not part of the 1%. That's the upper middle class. But that's the guy you're supposed to be mad at because you don't like Timmy Johnson. Because Timmy Johnson's got more than you. You have no idea the world of trust fund kids, private schools, okay? The real upper echelon. No, those are the ones that are going to have everything. And they're always talking about decimating extreme poverty. What that means is they're going to take the standard of living down for that upper middle class or that middle class. So they don't have the ability to socially climb through generations, to make generational wealth for their friends and their families and their communities. That's a no-no. So yeah, they'll rise. The ones they don't exterminate, by the way. You'll have that little extermination. I'm actually going to play you a clip of the founder of technocracy. All right? And by the way, it's a technopoly. I don't even like technocratic or the term technocracy. Really, it gives the illusion. And then it's the reason they use the term technocracy. Ooh. To give you the idea that there's some kind of democratic or democracy element to a technocracy. There's not. That's not what it is at all. It's more like bureaucracy. But again, semantics. So it's a technopoly that they want to impose on all of society where, according to Howard Scott, who is the founder of the technocracy movement. And what's really important to understand is this guy was dead by 1970. And the clip I'm playing is probably mid to late 60s because he's certainly an older guy. But there he is in his nice little jacket, and he's got his hat. The founder of technocracy. Talking about his friendship with Margaret Black People Are Like Weeds singer, Little Miss Eugenics, and how he loves her. Oh, I knew Margaret Sanger. Oh. But then discussing how certain biologists have come up with a type of poison rat poison in particular, that is odorless and tasteless and undetectable, and if put into the water supply of a large metropolitan area, guess what? We'll just sterilize all the mammals. That's what technocracy was founded on. That guy. I mean, and we got the clip, and we're going to play it, and it's disturbing, and it's upsetting, but it's not me saying it. It's Howard Scott, the founder of the technocracy movement. Wow. So that's going to be a big story. We've got other big stories we're going to go over today. But really, after we do the Muskernutz here, we're going to get deep into UBI, CBDC, energy certificates, and how those were discussed as a form of currency oh so long ago. Again, these people are patient, man. They are super, super patient. They'll wait another 5, 10, 20 years to get their agenda through. 30, 40, 50 years. They're social engineers for control. Very patient. Generational agenda based in social Darwinism. Based in rule by bloodline. I rule, therefore I should rule. And my children should rule. We have been chosen, anointed, if you will. That's the mentality. Hard to grasp, I know, but that's the truth. So, I want to play this clip, and we'll probably do just a slight watch along. This is toward the end of the interview with Musk and Tucker on Twitter, and how I think a lot of this was very much grandstanding and just, man, what a fluff interview. There really should have been more meat and potatoes with the whole thing. Like, hey, Elon, why in the world do you still have former Defense Department, FBI, NSA, CIA at your company? It's a question that Tuckins asked on a show. Didn't hear it in the interview. Instead, we got basically a promotion for our new savior, Elon Muskernutz.
Ultimately, it did succeed. Anyway, here we are.
But when you got there and all of a sudden you own it and all the data on the servers belongs to you. And
well, it belongs to the people.
Oh, it belongs to the people. No. First of all, private companies don't belong to the people. That's something out of Klaus Nutzschwab's mouth. Stakeholder capitalism. We are the stakeholders. We must look beyond the economics. Yes, the people. That's a form of capital. It's for the people. Really? Is it? So then, can we get all the emails that you shared with journalists and beyond? Can we get all the emails before the COVID 1984 nightmare? Can we get all the emails that show how you shadow ban? All right, can we stop giving access, as was exposed when he dumped the open source algorithm, to law enforcement to deboost people and posts? Yes, that's right. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and others have back doors into this private company. Okay, now, in it here, he's going to be, I was shocked to learn all this government involvement. Come on. You were shocked? Oh, this is a guy on the inside, the largest defense contractor in the world, as Kash Patel said years ago, when Starlink was in its infancy. I believe his contracts have only gotten larger and larger and larger, especially when you're talking about not only Starlink, but SpaceX, okay, the weaponization of space, that reality. All right, and he didn't know that the government had access to a social media platform which was openly engaged in censorship on a level the United States has never seen? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sure thing, Elon.
I view, but yes.
But you can see what it is, and you can see what they've been doing, and you can see who's been working there. You were shocked to find out that various intel agencies were affecting its operations?
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind.
Full access. Now again, For some people, like myself, none of this is news. None of it. Now, to others, it's not news, but it's confirmation of what they've talked about. And it gives them a sense of trust around Elon Musk. Oh, he's telling us the truth. Finally, we got somebody. There are bigger angles to look at here. All right, larger agendas at play. And this guy is being deified. Notice, even in the beginning, he has to really be careful by saying, well, to the extent of which I was unaware. Because he damn well knew, just like any thinking person knew, that what? The government at its top levels within what some people would call the deep state, others would call the military-industrial complex, others would call the intel community, is in charge of.
I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
Of course. They're DMs. Listen, man. Is anybody out there watching like the January 6th trials, or maybe even the Mackey case with Ricky Vaughn and really Microchip, a.k.a. Mackey case Douglas Mackey, right? People like Justin McConney. No, nobody else, because what are they doing in those cases? They're showing their private conversations on the internet, because nothing on the internet, no matter how hard you try, is truly anonymous. Are we paying attention to even the leaker case, where we're talking about Discord? All right, Signal messages have been brought out in court cases. Everybody thinks they're encrypted. And he starts talking about how he's going to have a toggle to encrypt your DMs. That is another false sense of security. The NSA gets what the NSA wants, and the NSA wants it all. They want it all. And they've been taking it all the way back before 9/11 with Amdocs and Converse being the Israeli arm of communications and where they were going. And then Hepting versus AT&T showing that NSA apparatus in private server rooms where there was no smart intelligence collection. It was just massive it was everything intelligence collection. The rooms took all the digital traffic from large telecom companies like AT&T and beyond. All right, none of this is new. It's just further and further being legitimized. And now, again, although they don't want to talk about it on other networks, because Tucker's talking about it, and he's given the platform to Musk, who's already kind of being deified by so many on the right and conservatives, this helps add to the mystique.
Yes, because the DMs are not encrypted. So one of the things that we're about to release is the ability to encrypt your DMs.
That's pretty heavy duty, though, because a lot of well-known people, reporters talking to their sources, government officials, the richest people in the world, they're DMing each other. And the assumption, obviously, it was incorrect, but was that that's private, but that was being read by various governments.
That would be a ignorant assumption to make. That anything you do, any private messenger conversation you've had on Facebook, Twitter, any of them, they have software where they have keystroke software. Same thing on this. So even if you type it and decide not to send it, they have every single keystroke. So they also get a little window into your psyche, how fast you type something, what your original thought was, whether you rethought that, whether you edited that, whether you erased it completely and then said something to the opposite effect. It's just like every time you're sitting there getting ready for the gram, and you take 15 shots of yourself, you go, no, delete, no. They know all those. They're like, wow, this person usually takes about 15 to 20 photographs before posting one. And then, they use the facial recognition software to see which ones you liked and which ones you didn't like. They use the camera to see how long your eyes are fixated on the image. what the expressions on your face were when you saw the image. All that's real-time, algorithmic, what they're calling artificial intelligence, which isn't really AI. Okay, none of it's AI. Garbage in and garbage out. Now, earlier in this, they talk about how the AI has been trained to lie and how even the Muskernutz himself helped fund and found OpenAI, which is run by Microsoft. And they talk about basically Google and Microsoft and even Google in the sense that Larry Page, who was a friend of Elon Musk at the time, according to Musk's version, was talking about basically building a digital AI god. This is Westworld stuff, but that is the plan. AI to run everything. But the thing is, the AI isn't truly artificial intelligence, and it's being programmed for a certain narrative to censor information, to control information in order to control the populace, while at the same time regimenting their every movement, everything about their life. That's the reality.
Yeah, that seems to be, yes.
It's scary.
Yes, it is. Like I said, we're moving to have the DMs be optionally encrypted. I mean, there's like a lot of DM conversations which are, just chatting with friends. It's not important.
Of course.
That's hopefully coming out later this month, but no later than next month, is the ability to toggle encryption on or off. So if you are in a conversation you think is sensitive, you can just toggle encryption on.
Now, let's talk about that. That's a false sense of security. Other than the keystroke software, there's also basically the ability to remotely see your screen. So as you type something, as long as it's visual and it's not just ... like when you put in a password, right? And that's not how it works when you're using DM encryption in the first place. They just take a screenshot of your entire conversation, encrypted or not. Encrypted or not. Come on. It's 2023. And
then no one at Twitter can see what you're talking about. They could put a gun to my head and I couldn't tell. I couldn't. That's sort of the gun to the head test. If somebody puts a gun to my head, and can I still not see your DMs? That's the acid test.
Yes.
And that's how it should be if you want your.
Have you had complaints from various governments about doing this?
I haven't had direct complaints to me. I've had sort of like some indirect complaints. I think people are a little concerned about complaining to me directly in case I tweet about it. They're like, uh-oh. So
it's a big joke. Oh, he could tweet about it. If you think that the Five Eyes Alliance or anybody who had access then or wants access since are going to have less access because of Elon Musk, I'm sorry. That's not real. That's fake. That's not a reality at all. So we're going to move on. I didn't want to play too much Muskernutz, really. I think we played about, less than 2 minutes of the clip. There's plenty out there. There's going to be plenty more tomorrow. If there's something that I feel is newsworthy, maybe we'll come back to it tomorrow. But I want to start with this universal basic income clip that is part of a James Corbett documentary. I love Corbett. Corbett does a great job. I've known James now well over a decade, almost. It's probably about 15 years, maybe even a little bit more than 15 years. And his work has been continually impressive and really only gotten better via the production value over the years. James Corbett is a true independent journalist, and in my opinion, top tier integrity, top tier real deal, putting out the agenda in a manner in which anybody can digest it, and it's very, very palatable and direct. So this is a 2-minute clip, kind of laying out the idea of automation, universal basic income, climate credits, the whole shebango, the whole system. And I saw Jonesy yesterday, Alex over at InfoWars, finally talking about Beyond the Reset and really playing clips almost throughout the whole show, telling people to watch it. Good. Good. That Beyond the Reset short documentary that I think now 2-3 weeks ago, not only did we mention, but we did a watch along in the second half over on the paid portion of the broadcast. You know, if you think InfoWars is tomorrow's news today, you know, God bless them. I'd say 9 out of 10 stories, we beat them to the punch 1 week, 1 month, sometimes 6 months before they cover anything. And that's not to brag. I'm not bragging, folks. Tip of the spear. It's the truth. You watch this show. For instance, you know, yesterday Jones mentioned the 9/11 CIA connection on his show. Okay, but then I think other than the headline and a quick mention, that was it. We did an hour. We did an hour commercial free here, and then we did another 20 minutes over on the paid portion of the broadcast, which you can listen to for free over at the Podbean. All right? So, look, I'm glad InfoWars exists. I'm glad Alex is covering stuff like that. I'm glad he has a huge reach and a huge audience. Consider supporting us here at Red Voice Media, where if you're paying attention, okay, you're not going to get tomorrow's news today. You're going to get news that people sometimes don't talk about, whether or not it's in the alternative or mainstream media, sometimes ever. Sometimes until I go on their show, right? In fact, with Elon Musk in particular, I have been by far the most critical person that's been given a platform on InfoWars of Elon Musk. In fact, I believe it was the first opportunity, probably now a year and a half ago, maybe closer to 2 years ago, when they started letting me host the 4th hour again and contacted me. Straight Musk, straight reality, straight NASA, okay? Straight up sustainability. When you hear that term, that's a code word for your standard of living plummeting. So without further ado, let's play this Corbett clip.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. Okay. What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income.
Would you live in a greener lifestyle if you could make money from it?
That may be possible if a government proposal for personal carbon emissions allowances is implemented under the scheme. Everyone...
Scheme. I love this. It is a scheme. They're schemers. They're scammers. They're controllers. They're haters. You know, the one thing I didn't play from that interview was when they were talking about Larry Page, Google, this kind of sentient AI. They also talked about the singularity. Okay, but then Musk again says that Larry Page accused him of being a speciesist. All right, and he's like, yeah. In other words, this is something that threatens the human species, humanity. That's why I tell everybody this trans thing is really transhuman, post-human. It's the battle for humanity, the battle for our species. That's real. And I think that the evidence is clear that in most regards, if not all regards, okay, Musk, as you just saw in that clip right there, is very much a part of that agenda, a part of that working mechanism that's pushing society towards transhumanism and towards what? The climate agenda that's not discussed at all by the Tuckins. That's another thing that really should have been questioned in that interview. Nope. Hey, wait a minute, Elon, aren't you about a universal basic income and sustainable energy, and you're the electric car guy, right? And then you're also the defense contractor guy. None of that. None of that.
In the UK would be allocated an annual carbon allowance.
Stored electronically, rather like a supermarket loyalty card, points would be deducted every time we buy or use non-renewable energy. For example, using electricity to power appliances in the home.
Or travelling somewhere by plane.
Or even buying petrol for your car on the forecourt.
Now, any points left over could then be sold back.
Any points left over? But I love it. You could sell it back to the bank. You could sell it back to the bank. So the bank has no resources, nothing to back it up. They're giving you a digital system of control that you're not going to have extra on if you do anything. But if you do, mate, you can sell it back to the bank. Cheerio.
To a central bank, are you still with us? And people who need more, like motorists who had used their allocations, could then pay for a top-up.
The Behavioural Insights team co-authored a report with Sky, a major UK licensed broadcaster, to talk about how Sky could nudge people into climate change behaviour. And not just Sky, but the recommendation was that other UK broadcasters should adopt these techniques. And the sorts of techniques they talked about were including news segments. So just to clarify, that's saying that there should be items in the news that will lead people to change their behaviour and climate.
Yes. I mean, that's basically what the news is for. That agenda has completely been pushed forward. And we see it everywhere. And it's the same crew. It's the World Health Organization. World Health Organization worried about climate change. UN worried about climate change. You know what else they're worried about? The trans issue. Because it's all one and the same. They are trying to dehumanize us. All right, and get us to accept subservience under this agenda.
Initially, the notion of a goal-oriented ledger may be user-driven. As an organization, Google would be responsible for offering suitable targets for a user's ledger.
So I forget what this is called. I think it's the selfish ledger. And this is something from Google from like a decade ago at this point, where I was trying to explain then, you already have a social credit score. If you've got an Apple device, it's been admitted for the last 5-6 years you have an Apple social credit score. Don't think that Google, aka partners with NASA, the NSA, the CIA, the Intel community on many levels, isn't doing the same thing. Of course they are. Of course they are.
Whilst the notion of a global good is problematic, topics would likely focus on health or environmental impact to reflect Google's values as an organization. Once the user selects a volition for their ledger, every interaction may be compared to a series of parallel options. If one of these options allows the ledger to move closer to its goal, it will be offered up to the user. Over time, by selecting these options, the user's behavior may be modified and the ledger moves closer to its target.
And you know, that was another thing that was essentially discussed with the Muskernutz and Tuckins, in that if AI even reaches the point where it becomes a very influential writer, okay, forget about just the jobs of journalists and authors going by the wayside and not being able to identify if something is written by a human being or not. But if they can influence us with language, would that influence be negative, or would it be positive, or would we be able to tell the difference? See, we have to conceive of a threat and know it's there before we can fight back against it. It's a big deal. So when I talk about a digital currency and I talk about the IMF and the CBDC, people need to identify. This is PR Newswire. This is the stuff that they put out. When I say they, I mean what? The IMF itself, the International Central Bank. All right? They put this out. They put this out. They put this out. Today at the International Monetary Fund, Spring Meeting 2023, the Digital Currency Monetary Authority, the DCMA, announced their official launch of an international central bank digital currency that strengthens the monetary sovereignty of participating central banks and companies with the recent crypto assets policy recommendations proposed by the IMF. Oh, we're just going to look into it. Yeah, we're just going to take a look at crypto. We're just going to take a look at a CBDC. No big deal. No big deal. Seriously, guys. So, this is the Universal Monetary Unit. Remember, it used to be SDRs before it hit crypto territory and central bank. In fact, let's find, maybe we'll do it live, SDR, IMF. Okay? So what is the SDR? Special drawing rights. All right? There they are. What is the meaning of the SDR from Google? You get down there. It's digital money that's not backed by anything at all. That's run by them. And they've had it forever. And now they're expanding that. SDR valuation basket, new currency amounts. Let's see if we can go news and by date. See if we can find out. And tools, sorted by relevance, by date. So constantly talking about that. Let's go to page 10. Man, I'd love to go to the end of this, but obviously this has been going on. There's some 2021. Let's see. Now we're down to 2020. Really? It's only going to go to 30? 2016, 2017. Listen, the SDR goes way back. Let's do a real search. Instead of recent, let's do custom range. Okay, let's do 01/01/2007, because I think 2008's the earliest. But now we'll go 2012? Yeah, let's do that, because it's definitely not past that. So there you go, 2009. 2009 is when we get it, sorted by date. So April 1st, actually, right in that wheelhouse. So 14 years ago, 15 years ago, right around there. That's when they started launching this, what I think is a illegal currency on behalf of a global cartel. We got special drawing rights. And remember, it's the blockchain that's being used by the World Economic Forum and the IMF with their refugee program. We've played that video probably a dozen times here, where they're taking your biometric data. You're living in the refugee camp. Don't worry, it's going to get you the food. But it's great because it stops all these processing fees. Now, we're going to go to this clip of a gentleman before the Brookings Institute talking about the World Bank and essentially how there is an agenda. They're revamping. It's all Bernaysian doublespeak. But in it, they admit that, yeah, they don't have any more resources to back up this money, but we're just going to let them print it. And by print it, we're not printing anything. We're just going to use the digital tools we have to loan this stuff out that doesn't even exist. Okay? Let's do it.
So another really big priority for us this week is what we refer to as MDB evolution. So the process of kind of updating the multilateral development banks.
Multilateral development banks. And the agenda is to empower them in this system. It's an evolution agenda.
We're at a pivotal point in international development. The MDBs and the World Bank in particular are in the midst of a once-in-a-generation transition.
Have you heard that once-in-a-generation thing before? Once in a generation pandemic. Once in a generation transition. All this once in a lifetime. Once in a generation. Don't worry, we're just changing it this one time. No, this has been a gradual de-evolution of our sovereignty, of our human rights, of our purchasing power as what? The human species. Literally attacking the species.
We are now in a world that faces increasingly complex global challenges that cross boundaries and disproportionately affect the poorest and most vulnerable.
Everything's boundary crossing. They want to get rid of any type of sovereignty, right? And they start talking about international law in another clip. It's the highest law of the land. Bullshit. We as United States citizens are not bound by international law because most of those people are unelected bureaucrats and monsters. Okay? They are appointed to their positions. We don't believe in appointments of those who are supposed to be representatives of the people.
And unfortunately, the MDBs weren't really designed for challenges that stretch across countries in this type of way. And so it required some updates. And 6 months ago, Secretary Yellen called on the MDBs and their shareholders to prepare for the challenges of the future, to evolve, to meet the challenges.
Yellen is another, I mean, Yellen is the word. Yellen is, inflation is transitory. It's a bald-faced liar and tool of the establishment. Another very unimpressive person. All right? Somebody that has been caught lying again and again and again and again.
An interconnected and changing world. And I think it's really important to recognize how much we've been able to accomplish in 6 months from when that speech took place, and working together with a broad coalition of shareholders and borrowing countries and thinking through how we can modernize the World Bank. So we've modernized the mission. The new mission underscores the importance of building resilience in the face of global shocks.
Building resilience in the face of global shocks.
Including climate, pandemics, and fragility and conflict.
So there it is again. Climate agenda is the pandemic agenda because it's a control agenda. Fragility and conflict. That's, boy oh boy, once cities and towns are completely decimated and destroyed due to war, not conflict, but war, you know, death showers from above, military involvement, that sort of thing. Don't worry, we're going to step in as the saviors. We're the best. We're number one. We're the World Bank.
And seeing them as an integral part of the World Bank's meeting its twin goals of ending extreme poverty and boosting shared prosperity.
Ending extreme poverty and boosting shared prosperity. Again, by ending extreme poverty, what they mean is your standard of living plummets, their standard of living comes up a little, and now you're all in it together. The haves and the have-nots are no more. You're all have-nots. You're all have-nots. And these people controlling these banking systems are the have-everythings.
We are strengthening the bank's operational model. Risks are not bound by borders, and development challenges are not always country-specific. And so the bank is integrating global challenges into its analytical work. We've also increased the bank's financing capacity without adding more resources.
Let me translate that for you. We've increased their finance capacity without adding resources. So in other words, we're just letting them do what they want. Say what they want, print what they want, digitally create what they want, and we're going to say it's worth something. But yet there's no more resources to back it up. No, we plan on taking over those resources through these tools. That's what that is.
Starting to implement the recommendations of the G20 Capital Adequacy Framework Review. So shareholders have agreed to undertake reforms that responsibly stretch the balance sheet in ways that can add up to $50 billion more in lending capacity over the next decade, which is a substantial boost.
Responsibly stretch the balance sheet with no more resources to the tune of $50 billion. And if they're telling you it's $50 billion, you better bet your ass it's probably more like $5 trillion. That's speculation. Not trying to get thrown off for harmful information or harmful content or misinformation or disinformation. But break down what he just said right there. They don't have any more resources. We're going to stretch out, right, the balance sheets to the tune of at least $50 billion more. What?
In lending coming from the World Bank, and doing so in a way that protects the bank's financial sustainability and its AAA rating.
So in other words, we're doing it in a way that their rating, okay, will never go down, and it's risk averse, meaning it's too big to fail. But we already knew that about the International Monetary Fund, and we already knew that about the World Bank, because they were set up for that very purpose, not to have resources, not to back things up with, I don't know, precious metals, silver, gold, etc. No, to have a digital command and control system under global governance.
So we've come a long way in these last 6 months, but this week we think will be a really important opportunity to press this process forward. We view what we're accomplishing this week as kind of the down payment on a reform agenda or an evolution agenda where we can continue to make sure the multilateral development banks are fit for purpose for tackling critical global challenges.
Critical global challenges. We got to prepare them. All PR, all public relations, all Bernaysian doublespeak. What he just said is we're going to empower a global banking system with less oversight, if any at all, so that they can take the resources and control the resources by, again, distributing money that doesn't exist. It just exists because we say it exists. They're the David Blaine of Brookings in the World Bank. Okay? So I want to play this clip of international law and how that's being pushed. We're not bound by international law. And by the way, the United States military-industrial complex, even when they prop up some kind of international law that goes against our policy, we don't follow it anyway. At all. Not even a little bit. So all this is being pushed through the United Nations. It's the World Court. And what? They're talking about smaller nations that have to do their part. And this is incrementalism and them implementing these tools of control through the weakest, the most vulnerable, the most corrupt, in the places where the citizens have the least say. Okay? An international court of justice. The world's highest court. No. No. The UN is the world's highest court. They're a joke. They're a bad joke. See, you've got legal duties now to address the climate crisis. See, the International Court of Justice will provide an opinion on what countries can do to cut their emissions, because cutting emissions protects people. Bullshit. They're not worried about real pollution. They're worried about demonizing carbon because it's a life force on the planet. In Beyond the Reset, when they're doing their news propaganda, they invert the truth and say that no, CO2 isn't plant food, but at night, the evil, bad trees are emitting CO2. So we've got to cut them down. Okay? We are battling climate change. Climate vulnerable people. That's imaginary. That's not real. Okay? That is false. Okay? Climate vulnerable people. It's the same thing. And again, this is the UN. This is the agenda and this is United Nations, free and equal. We got to save people from climate. They're climate vulnerable. Listen, anyone who doesn't have a home in the wintertime is climate vulnerable. Okay? And that spans across. So in this, I want people to know, just like everything else that's evil and dehumanizing, these are part of the trans child movement. Being trans is not an illness. Trans children and adults. What? There is no such thing as a trans child. Okay? Protect trans and gender nonconforming children and youth from violence and discrimination and allow for recognition of their gender identity. It's one of their goals. Okay? They want to destroy the family. They want to destroy parental rights, and they're for mutilating your child. All on behalf of equity. Okay? They've got their own page. Yeah. The man, woman with a beard. They've got their own page. And if you don't think they're pushing for the kid thing, it's on every damn one of them. Every damn one of them. Okay? And by the way, they were pulling this shit in 2017. All human beings are born free. And they're human rights. No one's taken away the rights of human beings. Let me make that very clear. Or of adults. There's child in this one. Yes. Between half and 2/3 of LGBT youth experience bullying in childhood, forcing 1 in 3 to skip or even drop out of school. Bullying is a reality, whether you're LGBT. And by the way, notice in 2017, it's LGBT, okay? But now it's LGBTQI+. And don't worry, the LMNOPO, ZXY, TRSUV will be there one day too. Whatever they want to say it. They'll double T. Okay, these are the monsters. And they're hitting us from every single angle because it is a anti-human agenda. Anti-human. Okay? Let's continue on. Although the opinion won't be legally binding, it will carry huge weight. They always love to say that. It won't be legally binding. But once the United States agrees to it, they'll just codify it into law. Color of law is what I like to call it. Ooh, climate negotiations and future climate lawsuits. So again, you're going to be able to wage lawfare based on the International Court of Justice that's not part of our constitutional republic. One day it could mean that high emissions break international law. Vanuatu is an 80-island archipelago in the South Pacific. It's one of the world's most climate vulnerable nations. Bullshit! In March 2023, it was hit by 2 Category 4 cyclones in 3 days. Yeah, those things happen in island regions. They've happened in island regions since recorded humanity, causing damage that amounts to more than half of the country's GDP. And again, it's fear. Experts say the disaster was triggered by global warming. Global warming or climate change? What experts? They just get to make blanket bullshit statements. Blanket bullshit statements. That's what this is. And boy, we're only about 4 minutes away from the premium portion of the broadcast. You're going to want to see the godfather of technocracy, the founder of technocracy, talk about population control, his relationship with Margaret Sanger, how they've developed a tool to sterilize a population without them knowing it. The guy died in 1970. You're going to want to see the decades and decades and decades of preparation through energy certificates. Those. You're going to want to see what really would happen if they try to take the fossil fuels away. You're going to want to see Mayor Eric Adams telling you that meat and cows are bad, and he's proof of it. Mayor Eric Adams in New York City, you know, a failed city in a failed state, telling you how to live your life. So come on over, okay, www.redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Try it out for $1 today for 1 week, $10 a month, or $100 for the entire year. Lock it in. Let's finish up this clip before we go to the other side of the broadcast on the paid end. And again, I want to remind people that over at redvoicemedia.com, every day that we do this, 2 weeks ago, the premium goes free. And I've been posting some of those over at Rockfin. I'm going to post today the Alex Karp of Palantir watch along over on Rumble and Rockfin. Maybe on YouTube. It's tough because YouTube loves to censor in the second hour. You know, we go a little harder. Vanuatu, see, they're already at net zero, but it didn't stop their climate change. And by the way, no one's at net zero. That's not a possibility. Okay, net zero, again, is basically a false talking point, a Bernaysian slogan, net zero. That's promoted by guys like Bill Gates. They've already hit net zero. More than 130 nations voted through net zero. The U.S. and China, both major polluters, did not back the motion, but did not object. This guy, this puppet, Yeah, this is a win for climate justice of epic proportions. Sure it is, buddy. Sure it is, guy. The global surface temperature has risen by 1.1 centimeters in the last century. I mean, there's no evidence of that. Climate change is already affecting weather systems in every region of the globe, says the IPCC, an organization not to be trusted ever under any circumstance. What climate laws would you introduce? What? Well, first of all, they wouldn't be climate laws. They would be regulation on actual pollution, right? Like mercury runoff or other chemicals in my water, in my air that you guys don't talk about at all anymore because you're not about actual punishment of those that pollute. You're about command and control of the entire population. Okay. We are heading over to the premium portion of the broadcast one at a time. I am going to say goodbye. I do want to thank everybody at Rockfin for tuning in. YouTube, you know the drill. I wish we could keep it